Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today I am finally potting up my two big Vandas. So I have already created another video. There is a part 1 that I published last week. I will link it here on the description down below. But the video today is specifically how I will pot up two big Vandas that I have. One is fully mature, full of roots. The other one, it's a little bit set back. It has just some short roots, so it will require a smaller pot. But I've already talked a lot about the roots in the previous video. Today, what I have to do is actually pot both orchids up. I don't grow my Vandas bare root because I don't have time to water them as often as they need. Also, I don't have any outdoor area, so I cannot attach them to trees, tree trunks, and having them just hanging in baskets. For this reason, I decided to grow my Vandas potted here in London. So far, they have been doing well. My purple Vanda blooms like 4 times a year. My Vanda Sanderiana blooms every year. I also have other smaller types of Vandas and Bandaceous orchids. They're doing well. I have only one that is struggling a little bit. That's the second Vanda that we will repot today. But they do well potted up. However, one of them outgrown their pot, and the other one, as I said, is set back. So, what are the steps here? First thing that I did was to sterilize both pots because they've been used previously. So, if you are reusing your pots, please sterilize them. I used bleach, alcohol, sponge, so they are both sterilized. The second thing was to grab the big Vanda, the ones with lots of roots, and leave it soaking. So the roots will be more flexible for me to work around. So when you're repotting your orchid, it's always a good idea to soak them beforehand. It's much easier to work with the roots. So these are all done. I can take these out of the way. And now let's start the repotting. I have just a caveat here, is that I brought the wrong package of bark. It happens to the best of us. So I bought 3 liters instead of 80 liters. The problem is I have only 2 packets of 3 liters, so I don't know if it's be enough or not. What I will do, I will prioritize the big Vanda, the one with more roots. Let's see what happens. If I have bark for both repottings, I will do both here. If not, I will pot one, and I can show you in the future how the second one is doing. But let's start. So this repotting is a bit trickier than other repots that I've done before because of the size of these pots, massive. You cannot see my Vanda, but it's here. It has been watered. How I know that it has been previously watered is because of the roots. If you look at them, they are green. They green up when you water them. At least the roots that are exposed to light. These one were buried inside the pot, so they don't become green when they are watered, but they're a little bit more flexible to work with like that. Now, what I'm going to do, it's very messy here, but I don't mind. I have some Sphagnum moss here. I will add a bit of moss at the bottom of this massive pot, as I do with my other orchids. But Vandas, they do enjoy the moss, but just a little tiny bit. The next thing that I will do, after creating my cushion of moss, a little bit more. Okay, so I have the cushion of moss here at the bottom. I'm going to grab this massive plant and I will accommodate it inside this pot. To be careful not to break the roots, but at the same time, I want to be able to add most of these roots inside this pot, because my issue with it, if you haven't watched the other video, is that, oh gosh, it's still difficult. Look, I try to soak a bit, slowly but surely. I'm gonna add this big Vanda inside this pot. Even this pot is a bit like smaller for it. I don't care. It's the one that I have at the moment, so we're gonna have to do, right? The problem is, as you can see, the neck of this orchid was all hanging out of the pot. Would be a problem if I had time to actually keep watering it, but I didn't, so that was the issue. And now I need most of these roots to be inside the pot so they can be hydrated without me having to go to the bath every time I hydrate them. So now the roots are inside, which is great. What I will do, start adding bark. Let's see how this bark will do. I have a package of 8 liters that was already open here. I don't need to be careful or anything because I have a ton of space. And I'm sorry about the noise. So let's keep adding one bit of moss here and there, and that's it. I'm not really worried about the moss because it just helped me with moisture inside the potting mix, but the main thing here is bulk. Sometimes I just like to shake the pot. Let me take this out. Shake the pot a bit to be able to accommodate. Let's go with more moss. And then chunk of bark. These plants, they are a bit more difficult for us to repot because of their size. I think I mentioned that in the previous video, that everything when is related to Vanda orchid, everything is big. The pot is big, even because for the reason that everything's so big, their roots are super thick as well. You need to have a ton. It's very noisy now, but that's the reason why I'm gonna come back here when I have something else to show you. Let me just add the last layer. After accommodating my orchid, spending some time working around its roots, I'm adding the last layer of moss, and I'm going to add something that's really, really important here. That is slow release fertilizer. Vandas, they are super heavy feeders, and because I usually water them in my bath, I don't have time to actually fertilize them every time that I'm fertilizing my orchids because I do water it a bit differently. For this reason, I do add a ton of slow release fertilizer, which helps my Vandas to grow and to bloom frequently. It's very important when you look after your Vanda orchid that you do fertilize it properly, otherwise it will not be able to keep growing healthy leaves, healthy roots, and blooming for you. They do require the nutrients, and as you can imagine, it will require a little bit more nutrients because it's quite big. So I will add the last layer of bark now. So this one was the more difficult case because it was much bigger, it had more roots and all that, but I'm happier now. It's not leaning as much as it used to. It was basically hanging completely to one side. Now it's able to balance itself a little bit more. And on top of that, I have most of my roots inside the potting mix. But I will come to it in the conclusion. Let me take it out of the way and let's grab the second orchid. So this one is much smaller than the other one, and I can show you from another perspective. Let's see. I don't think I have bark to fill the whole pot, but it will go maybe through half of it, and it will be fine for today. The first thing here is to add again the first layer of moss. What I noticed is that there is a difference between this clay pot and actually this plastic pot. The clay pot, specifically when it's summer, to offer a little bit more water, but I also noticed that my Vanda orchids, they enjoy this pot very, very much. So now it's going to be like something like that. I don't want to bury this section here because I don't want to have an infection. So it will be like this. Let's use the rest of bark that I have in this package. Now I can add a bit more of moss. I layer like I layer the other orchid. And then let's go with this package. The thing is, because I don't have many roots in here, this pot needs more mix anyway. Although it's a bit smaller, it will need its bark to fill the space. And as I said, as I mentioned, I don't have bark to fill the whole thing. It's fine. Good that I can show you what's happening here. I think I will receive more bark tomorrow. And then I'll just finish filling it up. And I will do the same thing. Not only finish layering everything, add the slow release fertilizer. And I'll be more attentive because this orchid, look, finish, yay! I don't have any more bark, so I cannot do anything else. Very important here is these roots, they were completely inside the potting mix last time. I've done something wrong here. Let me see if I can accommodate that. I wanted this orchid to be almost inside this pot. Let's see. I managed to. I can't break these roots because they're really, really important for my orchids. So I'll keep something like that. Now I will add the last layer of moss for today. And I wait for more bark to arrive so we can finish adding a last layer of bark. But it's almost ready. As I said, I will do the same thing that I did with the other one. Let me clean here, and then I will give you some close-ups and we'll conclude these massive reportings. So what our journey it was to actually unpot and repot both of these big orchids. My conclusion here is, if you ever ask me if it's worth having a Vanda indoors, it does if you do have the space and if you have time to actually look after it. Vanda orchids, they are a joy to grow. I don't think they are the most difficult orchids either. If you manage to offer them some highlight and a proper space and hydration, they will do well. However, the disadvantage, as I said, is that because they are so big, then it's sometimes hard to actually find them a space, have enough mix to report to them how I had my difficulties here. So not only that, but also, as I said, finding a proper light location with the amount of light they need to grow. I do use growing lights, but also I have plenty of natural light here behind me that is actually the exactly amount of light that these plants need to keep growing. So that being said, if you do have the space for it, I super recommend it. It's a joy to grow Vandas. I think the flowers are so unique and they are very different from other orchids as well, which is amazing. Talking about these two plants specifically, what I noticed here was that this one has a super large root system. He's doing well, was just leaning a lot and lost some of the bottom leaves, which is normal, which happens with time. So now that these roots will be more hydrated, I hope this plant will be even healthier than it was before and will keep growing and blooming for me. I hope to have these in this pot for at least 2 years. That's the time that this plant was potted in the other pot and outgrown this other pot. If this plant ends up outgrowing this pot, then I don't know what to do next because this pot is already very, very big, but shall we see in the future, and who knows, we might have a new video about it. Talking about the other Vanda, this one, it's a bit different because it's not as healthy as this big one here. It has only one large root that is actually hydrating my plant. I think this Vanda might have some underlying issues that I'm not aware of. What I intend to do with that one is just keeping hydrating it when it needs water and having a look to see if the leaves will be a little bit plumpier in the future. If my Vanda manages to push out more roots, we're gonna have a better result to look into the plants you can actually see. What happens is, healthy plants, although this one is leaning, when I touch the leaves, they are plumpy, they are firm. This one is very limpy and it's a little bit weird. It doesn't have many wrinkles, but some of the leaves do have some wrinkles. And as I said, I know that it doesn't have many roots because I just repotted. It was full of fungi inside the potting mix, so it was great to actually change everything so I don't have mold infestation, which is amazing, so it's free of that. Hopefully it will keep growing now because this one has beautiful yellow flowers and that it reminds of a leopard. So I love it so, so much. I wish this will bounce back in the future. We don't know. I'll keep you updated. But so far, everything is good here. What I will do now is just offer a little bit of water to both orchids to keep them hydrated here inside this pot. And I will place these massive pots under my growing lights. I do grow both of them under growing lights. And let's wait and see what happens in the future. If you enjoy the contents, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. I do have some affiliated links down below where I show you how I acquire some of my potting mix, big pots, and all that sort of stuff. More than that, I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.